What up? This is Eddie D. You know what time it is. It's the Eddie D Awards, Stupidest Comments of the Year. Preview one. I have two previews this year. I wanted to address something, and I'm surprised. I was gonna look on YouTube to see if anybody else who covers the NBA, or there's a bunch of NBA bloggers, or I don't even know what you call them on YouTube. It's a lot of them. I guess they're bloggers or NBA fans turn analysts or whatever. There's so many of them. But I'm surprised nobody addressed Charles Barkley, some of the crazy stuff he says. People have a bunch of videos on Shaq saying Shaq needs to be stopped. He says, and he does say crazy stuff from time to time, but Charles Barkley says a lot of stuff and y'all let him slide and get away with it. One of the things Charles said in the playoffs this year, which was weird, was that if you're a true superstar, you can't struggle in a playoff series. I found it interesting because I've been watching basketball for years, and I've seen superstars struggle in playoff series before. He's referring to Trae Young and Kevin Durant. Now, last year, nobody was saying anything because Trae Young was killing in the playoffs. This year against the Miami Heat, which, to me, I've been watching Pat Riley teams for years since I was a kid. They've done that before to superstars, and they've made it difficult for superstars, and they're just a great defensive team and a culture, and it's just Miami Heat. It's the Miami Heat. The only time they didn't really play like that was when they had the big three of Wade, LeBron, Bosh. They went a little Hollywood at that point, but other than that, they've always been a grind out, hard-nosed, defensive. They get people off the streets you never heard of and turn them into all-stars and turn them into all-defensive team members. But anyway, Charles Barkley, I know I'm rambling. To get back to what I was saying, Charles Barkley went in on Durant and Trae Young. And it's different when you're the man, and if you're a true superstar, you don't struggle in a series. And it's weird because Barkley gets paid to watch basketball, and I remember people struggling in series more than he does. So anyway, I also encourage you to watch Chris Broussard's podcast. He has a podcast where he addresses Kevin Durant saying guys like Stephen A. Smith changed the game for the worse. He brings up superstars struggling in the playoffs, and he made a good point. He said people only remember the great things superstars do. They don't remember the bad games that they have. And not only that, back in the day, there was no Twitter. There was no First Take. There was no Get Up. There was no Just In. There was no NBA Today. There was no Inside the NBA. There was no all these radio shows, Twitter, Instagram, there was none of this stuff. So, when they bring up things like Larry Bird having 8 games in the finals twice, people aren't going to remember that because it wasn't talked about. If Jason Tatum has 8 points in the finals, oh my goodness, he's going to hear about it from everybody. He's not a true superstar. A real superstar would never have. Well, Larry Bird did, and he's a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players in NBA history. But moving on, I'm going to give you guys a few examples of players, superstar players. According to Charles Barkley, this doesn't happen. So I remember watching this series in 1996 Western Conference semifinals, Seattle versus Houston. In the regular season, Hakeem Olajuwon averaged 26.9 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 3.6 assists per game, 1.6 steals per game, 2.9 blocks per game, 3.4 turnovers per game. This was like prime Hakeem. This is the year after they won the championship. Okay, they held him in the series to 18 points per game, which isn't bad, obviously, but for Hakeem Olajuwon, it is bad. When I just said he was averaging 26, close to 27 points per game in the regular season, he was held to 18 points. 9 rebounds, a little off his rebounds. His assists were up, which means he was getting double teamed a lot. His steals were down a little, blocks a little down, field goal percentage was 47%, which isn't that bad. I didn't write down his field goal percentage in a regular season, which I'm sure probably was higher than 47%. But anyway, that's not the point. Game 1, Hakeem Olajuwon had 6 points. Let me say that again. Hakeem Olajuwon, one of the greatest all-time centers, according to some people I talked to, the best center all time, had 6 points in game 1. He was 3 of 9, 33%. 6 points. 6. If this was today and Embiid or Jokic had 6 points, Barkley would be ripping him. Shaq would be ripping him. Stephen A would be ripping him. They would just be going off. They would question whether this guy is a superstar or not. All that stuff would be happening if he had 6 points. Or if they had 6 points. Now, obviously, I saw this game. He's being triple teamed every time he caught it. He was being swarmed by Sean Kemp, Irvin Johnson, Sam Perkins, Detlef Schrempf. He was being swarmed. I remember watching this. Game 2, he had 17 points, which is better, but not for somebody who averaged 26 points per game. And I don't want to hear anybody say, oh, he was old. This is the year after he killed David Robinson. If you guys didn't see that, or if you're too young to remember, YouTube it. Put Hakeem Olajuwon versus David Robinson playoffs, and I guarantee it will come up and you will see what Hakeem did to David Robinson. And he didn't kill Shaq as bad in the finals. He went at Shaq, but with David Robinson, it was like a personal vendetta against him. Because he was doing so many moves against him that I had never even seen Hakeem do against anybody. He killed David Robinson. So I don't want to hear anybody say, oh, he's old. No. If he was old against David Robinson too. That means David Robinson was like a gray-haired old man then, if he was old, because he murdered David Robinson. But anyway, he had 17 points in game 2, 8 of 21, 38%, 16 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks. So everything was good except for the points. Game 3, he finally had a big game. That was when it went to Houston. It shifted to Houston by then. He had 24 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, shot 58%, 7 of 12, 10 of 11 from the free throw line, and 2 steals. They still lost, though. And then game 4 is it's almost like by the time he figured out what kind of defense they're playing on him, it was too late because they got swept that series. He had 26 points in game 4, 57% from the field, 6 rebounds, 50% from the free throw line, which is weird because he's a great free throw shooter. He was 11 of 19 from the field and 4 turnovers. So he did figure out the defense they're playing on him, but yeah, like I said, the first 2 games he played so bad, Seattle has so much momentum by then it was too late. And like I said, I'm not gonna say this for everybody, but I'm gonna say it one last time. There was no Twitter. They didn't have all the sports shows they have now. But had that been now, people would have been saying this guy's a fraud. All the stuff they were saying about Durant just now, they'll be saying about him. All the stuff they're saying about Trae Young right now, they'll be saying about him. I don't care what anybody says. People say, no, yes, you would. Because people talk reckless, really reckless, especially on Twitter. That's another story. So, in the 2004 NBA Finals, it was a 5-game series. We're going to get into Kobe Bryant. Because Kobe had a bad series. So in the regular season, Kobe, rest in peace, had 24 points per game, 43% shooting, 32% from the three-point line, 5 assists, 1.7 steals per game, 2.6 turnovers per game. And that series, he was held to 22 points, which is a little under. The problem with that is he only shot 38% and 17% from the three-point line. 17%. 17. 3 turnovers, 3.6. So it was almost 4. And he still had 4 assists per game. Game 1, Kobe had 25 points, but he only shot 37%, I believe. Yeah, 37%. 1 of 6 from the three-point line. 3 turnovers, 4 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks. Game 2 was like probably his only big game of the series. 33 points, 14 of 27 from the field, 1 of 5 on 3, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 4 rebounds. Game 3, Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest shooting guards ever, possibly one of the greatest players ever, had 11 points. I'll repeat myself. Game 3, Kobe Bryant had 11 points. 4 of 13 from the field, 0 of 4 from threes, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, 4 turnovers. By the way, that's 30% shooting. Game 4, the points were better, but still, he was shooting terrible. 20 points, 8 of 25. That's 32%. 2 of 6 from the three-point line, 33%. 2 assists, 1 steal, 3 turnovers. Game 5, 24 points. He was getting his numbers, but so was Kevin Durant this year, and y'all was acting like he wasn't. Getting numbers is one thing, but you got to still shoot better than this. Kobe had 24 points game 5, 7 of 21 from the field, 33%, 0 of 2 from threes, 4 assists and 1 steal. So obviously, he did not play good. And even in the Shaq and Kobe sit-down, Kobe said he hated losing to Detroit, and he said he puts the blame on him. He actually said that. So you can go back and watch that if you don't believe me. Now, the LeBron James haters are going to love this part. This is the 2011 NBA Finals where the Miami Heat were favored over the Dallas Mavericks, and obviously they lost. So in the regular season, LeBron put up LeBron numbers. 26.7 points per game, 7.5 rebounds per game, 7.0 assists per game, 1.6 steals per game, 51% from the field, 33% from the three-point line, 75% from the free throw line, and I already mentioned the 7 assists. In the finals, it dropped almost by 10 points. He only averaged 17 points per game in the finals, 17.8 to be exact, 7.2 rebounds per game, 6.8 assists per game, 1.7 steals per game, 47% from the field, 32% from the three-point line. People always make fun of him from the free throw line, but that year he shot 75% from the free throw line, but in the finals it went all the way down to 60%, which is really bad. 6.8 assists per game and 1.7 steals per game. So game 1, the series started off pretty good. In game 1, he had 24 points, 56% from the field, 4 of 5 from the three-point line, 9 rebounds and 5 assists. Game 2, 20 points, 8 of 15 from the field, 2 of 7 from the three-point line, 50% from the free throw line, 4 assists. I don't know what happened to him in the free throw line this series. It's weird how he could shoot 75% in the regular season and drop all the way to 60. I don't know what happened there. 4 steals per game and 8 rebounds. Game 3, I think, is where it started shifting a little bit. Even though they won game 3, he only had 17 points, so he didn't even score 20. 6 of 14 from the field, 1 of 4 from the three-point line, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, 9 assists, 2 steals, and 4 turnovers. They actually won that game, believe it or not. Game 4 is where it got really bad. He only had 8 points game 4. As you notice, all these players I'm naming, it's like they all had a game where they were under 10 points, which is weird because these are like some of the greatest players ever. 8 points, 3 of 11 from the field, 0 of 3 from the three-point line, 2 of 4 from the free throw line, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 4 turnovers, that's probably arguably his worst game ever in the playoffs, I'm sure. I'm going to have to look it up, but it might be. 8 points for LeBron James, that sounds crazy. Game 5, LeBron James has 17 points, 8 of 19 from the field, 0 of 4 from the three-point line, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 10 rebounds and 10 assists, 1 block, 4 turnovers. So his overall game was good, but it's LeBron James. He hasn't scored more than 17 points, especially in the finals. Game 6, 21 points, 9 of 15 from the field, 2 of 5 from the three-point line, 1 of 4 from the free throw line, 6 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 6 turnovers. And then if you want to look up LeBron James' fourth quarter struggles in that series, that'll tell even more because he did not play good in the fourth quarter of that series. He just did not. And it was weird. It's like Dallas played a zone defense and they dared Dwayne Wade and LeBron James to shoot jumpers, and they continually missed jumpers in the fourth quarter of that series. I remember watching that. They just kept jacking up mid-range shot and missing. It's like they could not get into a rhythm. So the last guy we're going to talk about is Michael Jordan, and this is from the 89 series. This is how Detroit came up with the Jordan rules. And so I know the Jordan haters are going to love this part when I get to him struggling. And this is before they had a triangle offense. This is when anybody watched The Last Dance, they said Doug Collins ran an offense for Michael. Every play was for Michael Jordan pretty much. So this isn't the free flowing where everybody gets to touch it. This is like when Jordan was like, I'm going to score every rip, Jordan. So in his regular season numbers are crazy. I mean, he averaged 32.5 points per game, 6.2 rebounds per game, 8 assists, 8 rebounds, 2.9 steals per game, 53% from the field. Obviously, they didn't shoot a lot of threes during that time. He was only 27% from the three-point line. So game 1, he had his average, 32, 10 of 29 from the field, which is 34%. So he didn't shoot good, but he still had his, he still had his numbers, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 turnovers. Game 2, 27 points, 9 of 20 from the field, that's 45%, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and 4 turnovers. Then it went back to Chicago, where he really got hot. He went for 46 points, 16 of 26 from the field, that's 61%, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 0 blocks, and 2 turnovers. That's the game where Isaiah Thomas said he stayed out on Lake Michigan all night thinking about the game. And that's when they came up with the Jordan rules. So the first game under the Jordan rules, he had 23 points, but he was 5 for 15 for 33%, 1 of 3 from the three-point line. The reason he got 23 points was because they were fouling him so much. He went to the line 17 times and made 12 free throws. Game 5, they held him to 18 points, 4 of 8 from the field, 5 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 steal, 4 turnovers. That's great. Now, he did have 18 points, but if you hold Michael Jordan, especially the Michael Jordan who's averaging 32 points per game, who he had Pippen, but Pippen wasn't Pippen. Let's be honest. Pippen wasn't Pippen yet. He was developing into the Pippen from 91, but that wasn't Pippen from 91. This is 89. So if you hold Michael Jordan to 18 points, that's like a win. Like they had some wins in this series. If you can hold him to shooting a bad percentage or hold him to 18 points, a guy averaging 32 to 18, you win that matchup. And he only took 8 shots that game, which is mind-boggling. Michael Jordan only taking 8 shots in a game. That sounds like I had to check the stats again. Like, how they have the picture of Rondo looking at the stat sheet where he's like, that's how I felt when I saw this. Now, game 6, it looked like he figured out the defense they were running on him because he had 32 points, 13 of 26, 4 rebounds, 13 assists, which is crazy. But he still had 8 turnovers, which is obviously bad. I think I've seen that game on TV. It was really bad in the fourth quarter. Like Jordan he dribbled out of bounds. He got stripped by Joe Dumars. He was missing clutch free throws. It just wasn't the Jordan from 91, 92, 93 yet, but that is part of the problem back then. He felt like he had to do it all by himself because, like I said, Pippen was not Pippen yet. And to look at the numbers better, from game 1 through 3, he averaged 35 points per game, shot 46% from the field, 4.3 assists per game, 7.3 rebounds per game, 3 turnovers. After they applied the Jordan rules, 3 through 6, he only averaged 22 points per game, which that's still good, but he was averaging 35 in the first 3. They held him to 22 points per game once the Jordan rules were applied. 50% from the field, 10.3 assists per game. That assist number shows me he was getting double-teamed a lot because he only averaged 4 when Joe Dumars was guarding him the first 3 games. Once they started doubling him, his assists went up to 10 per game. 4 rebounds and 5 turnovers per game. So his turnovers went up higher too because he's probably trying to do too much. And other stories that you can look up, because I'm not going to name every superstar to struggle. You can look up the Magic Johnson, Tragic Johnson in the NBA Finals. You can look that up to see about superstars struggling in series. That really wasn't a whole series things. That was like the fourth quarter, which is even worse. If you play great for 3 quarters and you choke in the fourth quarter, to me, that's even worse. You can even look up Isaiah Thomas turnover versus Boston, another choke job by a superstar, by most people say the second greatest point guard in NBA history. Like I said, check out the Chris Broussard podcast where he talks about superstars struggling in NBA Finals. like pretty much stories you never hear, stories Charles Barkley apparently has never heard. But that's just a preview of the Eddie D Awards Stupidest Comments of the Year. The second preview will be the nominees.